when the pressure's at its highest, I rise to the occasion. I seem to
Yeah.
embrace it. And like that Slammiversary main event, I don't know why in particular, more so than Rebellion challenging for the world championship or anything like that, but it felt like the most pressure I've ever felt in my career.
Want to ask you this first. You'll be competing, or you'll be in Dallas on August 26th and 27th for Lone Star Stampede. How excited are you to be back in Dallas? Because I know you have some history there.
Yeah, it's always exciting to come back to Dallas. Like this crowd here, especially at the factory. Like my first tag team title defense was at Slammiversary here for pay per view. There's a lot of pressure in that match, and then you think of like Hard to Kill, both a few years back, and then Hard to Kill this past January, where
Mhm.
really that was like the biggest match after the whole everything that occurred with me and Moose
Yeah.
on my climb back to getting to Moose, me going one on one with Jonah in front of that crowd. It's always fun to be back in Dallas.
No doubt about that. And um, you know, they haven't announced who you'll be competing against yet, but since you become Impact World Champion, is there one opponent that you would like to face that you haven't yet?
There's several, yeah.
Mm,
Like there's some that I have faced already that I'd like to face again. Like in that
yeah.
exhibition title run, I defended against Chris Sabin. I would love to step foot in the ring with Chris Sabin again now as world champion. Eddie Edwards is a singles match that has never happened, much like Alex Shelley was up until Emergence a
Yeah.
couple of weeks back. People like Frankie Kazarian who showed up at Slammiversary. I would love to test myself against. And then you have this entire like young crop of guys in the X division that I haven't had one-on-one matches with, like the Chris Bays and the Mike Baileys and the Trey Miguels that I would love to test myself against if they can, climb out of that division and come up to the world title scene.
And one of the guys that you faced already for the championship is Eric Young at Slammiversary. Last time we talked, it was before Slammiversary. Now that you competed in that match, it was a great match, by the way, and I think a lot of people enjoyed it. What was it like being competing in that match and being in the main event of Slammiversary?
Like I always say that like when the pressure's at its highest, I rise to the occasion. I seem to
Yeah.
embrace it. And like that Slammiversary main event, I don't know why in particular, more so than Rebellion challenging for the world championship or anything like that, but it felt like the most pressure I've ever felt in my career. Like I had the most nerves I've had in a very long time. And I think
Hmm.
it might be because it was like the culmination of the first 20 years, the celebration of the first 20 years, and then the kicking off point for the next 20 years. I took that all very seriously. It seemed like a very special night. There was a lot of history making matches on the show, and to go out there in the main event and try to follow everything that was on it, there was a great deal of nerves. And then against somebody like Eric Young that I respect so much, and yeah, when that 3 count hit at the end of the match, I was extremely relieved and happy because there were so many moving parts in that match, so much that went on, and I was so happy that it went so well, and I was so happy that the crowd and the fans around the world actually understood what we were trying to do with that match, because we tried to tip our hats the first 20 years with that whole thing that we did.
Absolutely right about that. And that actually leads to my next question. Since you become Impact World Champion, what's been your most challenging match?
I mean, there's been several. Tomohiro Ishii was no slouch. Joe Doring was no slouch. Jacob
Yeah.
Fatu at Ric Flairs' last match in front of like
Mm,
7,000 plus people was no slouch. Like all these people are bigger than me in stature, strength. But the toughest match I may have ever had in my entire career was against Alex Shelley at Emergence a few weeks back.
okay.
And I don't know if it was a combination of how much respect I have for Alex Shelley as just a fan getting into pro wrestling, but it was a very grueling matchup, and it might be one of the best of my career.
Right about that. And I'm glad you mentioned Ric Flair's last match because not only you competed, but it was just wrestlers from all over the world, whether it's Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, Major League Wrestling, AEW. They were all there to pretty much celebrate Ric Flair and what he's done in pro wrestling over like 50 years. So, how special was it for you to compete in that event and to honor Ric Flair?
It was extremely like an honor to be a part of that card. Like I was maybe like 12 years old when I watched Wrestling with Shadows. And in Wrestling with Shadows, they
Yeah.
talk about the Terry Funk retirement show. And in that, you see all these different people from all around the wrestling world come together to compete on that one show. And you're like, this is unreal. And in this day and age, people talk about the forbidden door and all these stuff that is happening with companies, but it's unlike anything I've ever seen. It's been like that Terry Funk retirement show, the Brian Pillman Memorial show, and then Ric Flair's last match, where you literally have somebody from every single company competing or representing on that card. And for me to be a part of it, like, it's just a history making event that, I'm never going to forget. People, when they look up that show and like in 10, 20 years, like I'm going to be on the card, and it's something to be really proud of.
Right. And another an upcoming event that you're going to be competing in is something new. It's called Wrestling Showcase on September 3rd. It's going to be in the Chicago area. So how excited are you to be competing in this unique event where it's a tournament and the winner is ultimately become champion?
I mean, it's another championship to add to the list. I've competed in several tournaments. I've had a lot of success in tournaments. I'm known for having this gas tank in pro wrestling that doesn't stop, and I think that's something you need, especially when you're to compete 3 times in one night, to be able to crown yourself as champion of that tournament and everything else. But it's cool to just have these independent shows that come up outside of the company you're working for, where everybody can come together and kind of work together and give the fans stuff that they might otherwise not see.
Absolutely. And the last question I have for you before I let you go, along with you having success as a singles competitor, before that, you had success as a tag team with Ethan Page. You two were called the North. Ethan Page is now in AEW, having success there. So do you still keep in touch with Ethan Page? How is your relationship with him now since he's with AEW?
No, we don't really keep in touch at all. He left for AEW, and we went to separate sandboxes. We have separate goals, and things have been going well for me. Things have been going well for him. It's just the pro wrestling world. People break apart. They go their separate ways, man. And you just pick up, one day when you might come back together again. Like there was never any time lost between you. But yeah,
absolutely. Well, Josh, I appreciate talking to you again. Thank you so much. Good luck to you in Dallas. Good luck to you the rest of your career, and continued success to you.